Alright, hello. I am Manthurian, and this will be my video submission for SGDQ 2020 for Silent Hill, and this will be the knife only category, which is the main category that we'd like to submit. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and we're going to do a no reset run, taking the same strats as I would do in a marathon in the event. So let me check my options. Everything's correct. So let's get it going. I'm going to be running against my usual splits. There we go. And we're going to start right away. So let's go. So this category has a lot of differences from the others that were presented in previous GDQs, and Silent Hill has been in previous events several times, a few times. Most of the times usually have one of the four main Silent Hill games, Silent Hill 1 through 4. And this game has been a few times. It's been a while though, since it has been in a major GDQ event. But it's always the 90% category or UFO. It's the most known speedruns for this game. Knife only is a little bit less known, but not less impressive.
Hey, wait! Stop.
Okay, on contraire, it has some pretty interesting things going on. A lot of the fights are much harder. We don't have that many fights, but a lot of them are harder. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting challenge. Only 3 people in the world have completed this challenge. Only 3 people in the world have managed to beat the game with only the knife. And I am safe to say that because you can only do this under speedrun strats. But I'm going to talk about that later. A lot of the run is similar to 20%. So we can explain the same things as happens in any percent, such as a nightmare, but we've got a few very significant changes, and one of them is actually coming up right at the beginning of the game. After we take this intentional death here, so at the end of this nightmare section, we're going to wake up in a cafe.
What's going on here?
And hold on. Okay, we're going to wake up in a cafe, and we're going to have to kill an enemy that you're not supposed to kill with a knife. It's supposed to be impossible because the flying enemy. But using certain tricks and certain strats, we can reach it in a very specific way. And the first thing that you do in a knife only run, by the way, you actually equip your handgun and you fire your shots here. This is kind of weird, but there is a reason for why I am actually doing this. I'm emptying my clip. And I'm going to pick up both health drinks here for safety, because this is obviously a no reset run. And now I'm going to equip my trusty knife. So in this cutscene, the enemy will spawn, and I'm going to attempt to do a 2-frame trick to hit this air screamer in the most optimal way. Since it's only a 2-frame window, is pretty hard to nail, but I have a few backup strats that can work. So let's see how this goes first. I got it. Oh, okay, really good. So this is the very precise trick. There are a few backup strats in case this goes south, but this is pretty good. And that's how you kill the air screamer right at the beginning. If you play the game, you're supposed to kill with a handgun. This is kind of a how can I say, a tutorial, an introduction to the basics, like, of fighting an enemy as well as scaring you. And yeah, this game is scary. This game is I forgot to talk about the game itself because we're doing such a different category. But this game is a survival horror. It's the first game of the Silent Hill series. It was only released on the PlayStation 1, but you could play on the PlayStation 2, which I am playing. You can play on the PlayStation 3, and you can play on PS TV as well. Um, and yeah, we're going to pick up 3 keys here to open a door. This is something that you can actually do. The game would point you otherwise to the alley of the beginning of the game. There you would find a note pointing towards the school. Then you find that all the roads are blocked. Then there's a note on the floor, and one of those collapsed doors that points you towards a house. Then you open the house, and then you've got a map pointing towards those 3 locations where you can pick up these keys to open the back door of the house. But you can just pick up the 3 keys without doing any of that. Or rather, we're doing things in the most optimal sequence. Good. So yeah, as I said, this game is a horror game, so it's most suited in a horror block, of course. And it has been in horror blocks in previous GDQs, but like I said, it's never been like that. So this would be definitely the first time in a Games Done Quick that we will showcase knife only. But this game is very interesting to watch. It's a nostalgic game as well. A lot of people know it. It's the game that started the Silent Hill series, and Silent Hill is a pretty big name, you know. Oh, okay. That was really tough to dodge. Wow, okay. It's kind of unlucky, but it's alright. It's part of the game. Yeah, I have to dodge those flying enemies, the same one that I kill in the cafe, and sometimes it can be a pain, but sometimes it can pursue you. It's pretty bad. But yeah, this is the game that started it all. It's a really good game, especially considering it's the first game in the series, and the team that developed the game were kind of starting. So yeah, and it's a pretty well-known game. It has a lot of nostalgia value to it. A lot of people don't know that you can actually beat this game with the knife, only a knife. And this was actually impossible before the out-of-bounds trick was discovered. This game has 2 major glitches, and this run has 2 major glitches. There is an out-of-bounds trick that we're going to use, and there's the amusement park skip that we're going to see much later in the game. And this essentially skips 2 boss fights, and those are used in 90%. Those are used in pretty much every category in the game. Though this is the back door that I was talking about, and it basically unlocks this goal here, so we can, as the game gets darker here, we can progress to the school. And talking a little bit about the situation on the leaderboards and the run. This category I grinded quite a bit, and I'm pretty experienced with this game. The world records. First off, the world record for this category is the only one that I have. The world records in this game are all pretty well optimized, especially 90%. This category is pretty well optimized as well, but since it's a less known category, since it's a harder category, it doesn't have as much attention as 90%. And I can say for sure that this is harder than 90%, at least in terms of execution. Which will have much harder boss fights, and yeah, you're gonna see it. So yeah, this is the school. Oh, yeah, split. This is the first major area of the game, and a lot of runners have trouble with this. Those enemies that we can see in the school are the same as the same ones that killed us in the nightmare. They can grab you and make you lose a lot of time. So I am using my flashlight and specific movement here to avoid them. You can still get grabbed, you know, pretty frequently here and there. We've got a few close calls. I'm using the most optimal strats for most of the part, for the most part. And we're just going to solve a few puzzles here. Oh, the menu's to the right. Okay, Kind of forgot about that. So this was the first puzzle. It's pretty simple. You just use a chemical in the statue of the hand, and you can pick up the golden medallion. Turning off the flashlight as well. Turning off the flashlight's pretty important for those rooms. It allows if you have your flashlight off, you're less likely to aggro the enemies, or you're going to aggro the enemies later. So that allows you for dodging the enemies a little bit better. And that, with some pretty specific movement, makes up the optimal route for the game. The second puzzle, though, to pick up the silver medallion, so you have the gold and the silver medallion that you put in the clock tower. The second puzzle is much harder. It's actually a really hard puzzle. One of the hardest puzzles, like, in the entirety of the Silent Hill franchise, which is the piano puzzle. But the solution's the same every time, so if you're a speedrunner, you already know what it is. It involves, like, you have to read the poem on the wall. It's really, really tough, especially if you don't know English. And as you probably could tell, English is not my native language. I am a Brazilian runner. But I'm pretty comfortable commentating my run. Here's a strat that I would like to showcase. This is the YOLO strat. It doesn't work every time, as you can see. I'm going to show the safe strat because we're gonna go down to the boiler and we're gonna go through the hallway once again, the direction. So yeah, turning on the boiler unlocks the clock tower here, which we need to progress through the game. The whole premise of the game, I basically forgot how to... Come on. I basically forgot, like, how to explain the premise of the game, but Harry's looking for his daughter, Cheryl. So if you're watching and don't know anything about the game, Harry is essentially going through the town, experiencing this bizarre event, and looking for Cheryl. And the town has a... This is the safe strat. You walk for one step, turn off the lights, and... boom, there you go. That actually works every time. But I don't like using that because it's a little bit slower, but yeah, I would like to do that, and I would like to showcase both ways of going through that particular hallway. But the town has some spiritual power that makes these things happen. The story is actually really complicated. It's hard to cover in like so quickly. And as you progress through the school, you find that there's a alternative version of it we call the Otherworld School, and here's where the game gets even scarier. So yeah, this game is a timeless classic. This is where a lot of people also stop playing the game, not only because the piano puzzle was so hard and a lot of people couldn't get through it, but out of sheer fear. I would say. I remember playing with my uncle like so long ago, and oh wow, it was like we couldn't even get to this part of the game. We couldn't even get to the piano puzzle. We were so scared. I'll never forget it. But anyway, back there we could have picked up the shotgun in any percent, but instead we're gonna just pick up a rubber ball. I think it's a good trade. I don't know. This rubber ball is... I'm sorry, this is just a little joke. This rubber ball is required to progress through the game. The shotgun isn't, as we're gonna see. And I think it's about time to start talking about Splithead. We're gonna need to solve a little puzzle here. But talking about the first boss of the game is very important. Splithead is the biggest issue when it comes to knife only. In my opinion, the air screamer is a bigger issue. But that was gone in 5 seconds, so... Splithead is the biggest problem now. Splithead is a giant lizard, and we only have a knife. And the giant lizard, the premise for that boss is that you have the shotgun, and you can... This is an unskippable cutscene. And then you can shoot the boss with the shotgun. There's a difference between a shotgun and a knife, though, and you have to shoot the inside of his mouth. The boss is called Splithead because his entire head splits into a giant mouth, and as he's trying to swallow Harry, you just shoot inside of his mouth and he dies. It's as simple as that. In New Game Easy, that boss is like so freeze, the easiest boss in the entire game. Like, I'm not kidding. The bosses are so easy on 80%. New Game Easy and 80% are the same, are one of the same. They're the same category. Oh, come on. Picking up the classroom key here after solving the little puzzle there. That's the first of the 2 keys to unlock our way to Splithead. So, Splithead has a giant mouth and you have to shoot inside of the mouth, but we cannot shoot with the knife, we can only stab him. So, we're going to have to stab the inside of the mouth, but if we get swallowed by that giant Splithead thing, we die. It's an insta-kill. This game has 2 insta-kills, and that's the first one of them. So we're going to expose ourselves to the insta-kill quite a bit while we deal damage to the mouth. And it's mandatory that you stab the mouth because it deals like 40 times more damage than the rest of the body. It's critical damage. And yeah, it is really tough. It's a pretty tough fight. But I have fought that big boy a bunch of times, and yeah, we're gonna be good. There are a few bad things that can happen. Sometimes he can stun you. He can deal a lot of damage in the first phase, but we have health rings for that. And sometimes he will stun you, and if you try to go for the stab, you die. But I am pretty experienced with it, so the fight should go smoothly. Well, honestly, it can be a little messy here and there, but all that's going to happen, I'm probably going to lose a minute compared to my PB. In no reset runs, that's usually what happens, because I tend to not take too many risks. I tend to play safe and not go for stabs where I could potentially get trapped or die. So you're gonna see how I am going to fight pretty safely. And before the Splithead fight, I'm going to take an extra item here. This item's called the Ampoule, and it's very important for later. It's a healing item. And this room here is actually pretty hard. I don't think I got it correctly. This room is actually one of the hardest rooms in the entire game. And the way... I'm going to explain this after Splithead, but... the hardest rooms in the game are the small rooms. And a lot of the things in this game, when it comes to difficulty, are in the subtle details. There you go. Actually saved some time. So here we are at Splithead. He has 2 phases. The first phase, we're going to stab the body, and it can deal a lot of damage. In the second phase, he's going to start trying to actually kill us. So I'm going to take... Oh, that's really bad. That's not what you want. I'm going to need some silence here. I'm going to make some silence for this fight. Can I dodge him? Oh, I almost got it. Okay. So yeah, he's dealing a lot of damage. Oh boy. Okay. That's pretty good. I'm going to heal for safety. You see, I was in danger health there, but... Alright, he turns to the second phase, so now I'm going to actually focus and stop talking, because I don't want to die. So, this is it. And we have to stab him like 20 times. Pretty crazy. And a lot of people who play the game, who wonder how are you able to do this? Really? Oh my god. Okay, let me change my position. Come on. Wow, that was really bad. So, not taking too many risks. Let's just chill a little bit here. Oh my god, that was so close. Okay, okay, let's chill. I wasn't quite ready for that. By the way, this guy here, this big boy here, is the reason why the estimate's 1 hour and 5 minutes. Because if you die, it's okay. You can continue from a checkpoint right before the boss, but the fight's quite lengthy, so it's not a good thing. But after we are done with it, the chance of dying is so little. Chances of dying. But this is the biggest issue in the run. I'm losing a lot of time, but it's okay. I'm gonna probably lose a minute or so. This was a really bad fight in terms of speed. It's okay though. For no reset, it's good. I think I have space for one more. Okay, we barely had it. It's a little risky, not gonna lie. Come on, buddy. There we go. That's split head, knife only. Pretty simple. It is scary. It is pretty shaky, but it's pretty simple. If you know what you're doing. We just go into his mouth, stab, quick turn, and leave. And there you go. Almost died there at one part because he did something that I wasn't quite expecting. But I can always like take a moment to breathe, quick turn, and keep calm and quick turn. That's what you do there essentially. Alright, we're done with the school. We're done with the most complicated part of the run, which is school plus split head. Everything after this is actually pretty chill, believe it or not, if you're not doing PB attempts, of course. And this is actually a pretty decent, this is actually a good part for donations as well, because there's not too much going on. So you could throw a few donations here, but, well, of course I am doing explanation of the run, so I'm just going to continue with my commentary. And I do a lot of commentary. I don't stop talking at all. And oh yeah, another thing. So talking about incentives, there are two things that comes to my mind. We can have the incentive for the good plus ending. So in this category we do the bad plus ending, as well as for any percent categories, because the bad plus ending is the fastest. So I can add that incentive as well, and that actually doesn't really change the estimates. My estimate should be 1 hour and 5 minutes regardless. It does add like it does add 1 minute to the run, but honestly that should not. Oh, this guy can just end my day here. Okay, good. It should not really change the estimate for me. I'm pretty confident that I am not going to die, and I'm pretty confident that unless I die, I am going to finish the game in under 1 hour, real time. Oh, speaking of real time, this run is 1 hour long, but if you go to the leaderboards, you're gonna see that the PB, my personal best, my world record is 34 minutes and 55 seconds. It's because this game, for the leaderboards, we use the IGT. The IGT in this game is good, is pretty consistent, and it's consistent among all the platforms, so that allows for people to run in multiple platforms and even on unofficial emulation. The difference in RTA between PlayStation TV and the PS 1, 2, 3 is abysmal. On PS2 you can have a little bit of a faster RTA if you use fast disk speed, but I'm not using that. I don't like using that. I'm not used to that as well. And what that does is essentially reduce the loading times, but the loading times do not account for the IGT. And even if you're playing, regardless of platform, you can just have a fair competition with the IGT, as far as we know, is really consistent. So yeah, I'd like to point out though that the next room that I'm gonna go in is actually the hardest room in the entire game, or one of the hardest rooms in the entire game. This little thing here, and there you go. That was the hardest room of the game. I'm going to heal for safety. So this room is actually really hard, and it takes like only a few seconds, like 2 seconds at best, to do that. Come on, Ari. So that's what I was talking about before explaining split head. Like the little things that make a difference between a top runner, between a runner that has a 30 and a runner that has a 31. Talking about 80%. Are so subtle. They're so small. This game is not a hard game to speedrun, but when it comes to optimizations, it definitely looks easier than it is. A lot of little things like opening doors properly, small pieces of movement, small optimizations here and there, and I know that's true for every speedrun, but this game is something that you cannot see and you cannot understand just by looking at it. It doesn't seem that anything crazy is going on, and to be honest, it really doesn't have anything really crazy going on, but all of our movements pretty specific, and it makes a huge difference in the end of the game. This is just talking about like 80% shenanigans when you want to optimize it room by room, opening doors at the earliest possible frame. But at the end of the day, this game as a speed game is pretty simple. And by the way, we are in the hospital right now. Oh, come on. And we're essentially here because we went into the church and we had a woman named Dahlia Gillespie tell us to go to the hospital. That's literally the game. And we're going to pick up this plastic bottle. It's very important to have our plastic bottles to stay hydrated. Harriet's not going to stay hydrated for now. We're just going to pick up this red liquid here real quick. It's not useful for staying hydrated, but it's useful later on the run. So yeah. And yeah, the hospital is the second major area of the game, and it's not as bad as the school. For me, it's actually pretty hard. They've got a few things that are RNG based, Harry. And yeah, essentially enemies that can block you, and there's not much you can do sometimes. But we're gonna get to them. And yeah, here's where the run is a little bit more similar to 80%. I like to call knife only a turbo 80%, because it's essentially 80% but harder. A lot of the things are very similar. We're playing on easy difficulty, by the way, because split head is only possible with a melee weapon on easy. It leads to kill with properly. You could potentially keep stabbing the body, but you cannot stab the inside of the mouth. And if you were to try to do knife only on normal and hard, it will probably take 2 hours just to get to split head because you're dealing so little damage in his body. So this is why we play on easy, and also because it's faster. 80% is also played on easy because it's faster. So yeah. But I was talking about an incentive for the Guild Plus ending, and this will only add a minute to the run, so I don't think it's going to change the estimate at all. But another interesting thing that we can do, it's change the blood color. This game has options to change the game's blood color. Oh, okay. So it has 4 options: black, red, green, and violet. And this is another bid war or something that you can put in the game. I'm obviously gonna put in the submission page. I think those are the 2 incentives that you could go for. But I like the blood color bid war because it's such an easy thing to do, and it can change right before the run. Whenever I do. All right, I got it. This is a new strat strafing into that plate. It's faster by like 0.3 seconds, like optimal movement, task movement. So I'm doing a task of this game too. I actually have already done one, but I decided to redo it to make it a little better, to make it perfect. Not really perfect, but as best as I can, because it's my first task. So a task of this game, newer task of this game should be coming out soon. And yeah, back to the run, you've noticed that I'm picking up those plates here. There are 4 of them in total. I just picked up the last one using the blood pack to lure away the blood monster. And those plates are used in this puzzle. And once again, there are no RNG to the puzzles. The puzzles are always the same solution. Unlike Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3, which have got some RNG things. In Silent Hill 2, you can manipulate the RNG, I believe, by doing some frame perfect stuff at the beginning of the game. I don't know how it works, but in this game, you don't have to worry about that. We're going to actually fight an enemy here. This nurse you have to kill to get through her. And this is the nurse skip nurse. There's a trick in 80% called nurse skip, that we would like to call it. But it allows you to kill this nurse and go through this door before she falls down. It's basically RNG if you get it or not. But there's no possible way, as far as I know, to do it on knife only. So we just kill the nurse and wait for her to finish her animation, her death animation. And we picked up a lighter and alcohol bottle as well. Those are key items to progress to the next area of the hospital. They're pretty necessary. So I talk about incentives, I talk about everything pretty much. So cabinet pushing, there's a lot of it. But yeah, I should really go underestimate. Like, if I was sure that I was not going to die, and if I wanted to have a tight estimate, I would put 1 hour estimate. But I just added 5 minutes to be comfortable in case any potential deaths happen, and it could happen in Split Head. It can happen at the air screamer as well, right at the beginning, which, you know, you really don't want to see it. But man, I have practiced that air screamer so much. If you nail the 2-frame trick, you're good. The air screamer essentially is a stun lock. You hit it the first time and you're good. You just stun lock it. But even if you don't hit that trick, you can just there are a few backup strats. I somehow did it first try. This is my first and only take of these of this submission, because I've got a few first off, I'm gonna string after this, and also I have a few other category submissions that I want to do for Silent Hill. This is the only game that I'm going to submit because it's the only game that I am comfortable running in a marathon. Yeah, I'm pretty good at this. I'm pretty comfortable and confident with this, even when doing knife only. And we're actually right at the end of the hospital. There we go. And we just talked to Lisa here. There are a few other cutscenes, and now we're gonna go to the antique shop.
Was I dreaming?
And oh boy, practice the strat. Whatever. Oh boy, the antique shop. So whenever a Silent Hill runner hears the words antique shop, there's a chill that goes down their spine already, and they're like, oh no, not this again. So the antique shop is where you have the first and only out of bounds in the run. Antique shop skip, out of bounds, and the out of bounds in this game is the reason why knife only is possible, because it skips a boss that you cannot kill with a knife. It's a little worm on the ground, and Harry's attacks don't reach the worm, unfortunately. So before the out of bounds was discovered, knife only was impossible. That's why I am so confident when saying that only 3 people in the world have managed to do this. because those 3 people are the people that we have on the leaderboards, and you need a speedrunning trick to actually do knife only, and a few other very specific speedrunning strats. So you need someone that's essentially a good speedrunner to do that, to achieve this category or this challenge run if you're casually doing knife only. Casually would be harder though, like if you want to kill enemies and stuff. But this antique shop skip here is where all the runs come to die. Every single Silent Hill runner loses runs to the antique shop, and the least experienced runners like lose 5, 6, 7 minutes to this sometimes because they just cannot get the trick. But with a proper setup, your consistency with this trick can go up by like 60%. It's insane. All you have to do is do the right thing and the right setup. It's kind of specific, but the most experienced runners can get this trick first try, and that's an issue because if you PB with this trick first try, you essentially have to do first try if you want to PB again, because if you don't, you lose like 4, 5, 6 seconds or more per try, per attempt, and that's kind of bad when you're trying to save those seconds. So here's the trick. So I got it first try somehow. I thought that was kind of bad luck, but I still got it. So you essentially get damage boosted by that enemy there, the romper as we call him. And the damage boost puts you through that scenario transition, completely eliminating Harry's collision with walls, and you can walk through walls essentially. So we walk through the wall right in front of us, and conveniently we warp to the other side of the map on an active area that we can just land on top. And here we are. We skip a boss, we skip a minute of the run, and we're back at the hospital. So if you play the game, you probably know what we skipped, but it's like the entirety of the Silent Hill Town Center, the Twin Filler, the Warm Boss, and going all the way from the town center back to the hospital to talk with Lisa again. So it skips a good chunk of the game. It's a 1 minute time save essentially if you get it first try. As I got it, I get it first try most of my runs. I am really good with this trick. I'm not gonna lie. And this is the second boss of the run. In the third boss of the game, we skipped the second boss. This is called Float Singer. It's a giant moth, and killing this boss with the knife is difficult to do it properly and to do it fast. This boss is by far the hardest part of knife only to optimize. The way this boss works, in any percent, it has damage reduction, by the way. So every time you deal damage, you have to wait a while to deal full damage again. But in knife only, we did the opposite. We spam our knife slashes because the damage reduction doesn't really affect the knife too much because they're dealing so little damage with it. It heavily affects the shotgun. So the fastest thing is to spam your knives. But the way the knife works in this game, the closer you are to an enemy, the more damage is going to deal because the knife doesn't do a fixed amount of damage. Let me heal here. By the way, this is why the ample is for. It's for this boss. I'm going to explain why, but essentially you have to get closer to this boss, and this is why I'm trying to do my best to not let the boss get to the edge of the platform here, of the building, of the roof. And the optimal thing would be confusing Float Singer like this, exactly like this. So now he's landing the attacks on the air, and now I can essentially get closer because I am attacking while she's attacking. Look at that. And yeah, we're right at the end of the fight. This is a decent fight. Hello? Yeah, once again, I like to be closer to, there you go. I like to be closer to the stairs though to leave, but whatever. This is a pretty good fight. That was a pretty good fight. Yeah, only 17 seconds behind the PB. It's not that terrible. And that's how you kill Float Singer with the knife. I think I went too much into detail, but that's essentially it. And the reason why you use the ample of all healing items is because the ample heals you back to full health and also gives you health regen for 5 minutes. It is a really good healing item. That's why there's only 3 amples in the entire game, and we picked up one of them for this fight. We're back to full health. We're not picking up any health drinks after this. And the ample is still healing us. The ample heals us through the fights, and it makes the fight much safer. I do that as well in my world record run. Ideally, you would not pick up any healing item whatsoever, but oh, good luck with that. Harry's going to use the knife here to stab down a locker. A lock, not a locker. And now we're gonna go to the sewers, because since it's a horror game, it's mandatory to have a sewer section. The sewers can be pretty confusing for new runners, so easy to get lost here. Or, well, if you're playing casually, it's a nightmare. Oh, come on. Especially because the map that you get in the series, and if you played it, you know it, the map doesn't help you too much. In the series, we have a certain kind of enemy called the Hanged Scratchers, and whether they block you or not is essentially RNG. This guy's kind of blocking me. Oh, this is really bad. So yeah, there you go. We got the bad luck here. He blocked me and hit me, and it's not the end of the world, but if you're going for PBs, once again, like this game, every 1 second, 2 second time loss is really tough. This game is really optimized for 50 RTA, 50-minute RTA run. This game is really optimized. The world record holder, Aaron, he holds the world record for every single category except knife only. He has grinded this game to a point where every single mistake, every single mistake matters so much to the run, and you can only have a few mistakes before your run's dead. I know that's once again true for all the speed runs, but they're very little things. And the 80% leaderboards, I actually just got 2nd place, so I am 20 seconds behind Aaron now. He's really far ahead. But I finally beat Punchy's 30-25, so now I have a 30-23 and 80%, the 2nd place. I got it like a few days ago, of course, from the date of recording of this video. And yeah, I'm essentially grinding 80% right now, trying to get closer and closer to the world record. Let's see when we get there. And the strats that I use are essentially the same as the world record strats. There essentially no differences. But this game here is pretty optimized in general, yeah. And even knife only, like the boss fights are really optimized. But like knife only is probably the least optimized run, since it hasn't been run by that many runners. Hasn't been done by that many runners. As we progress through the late game, like you can have more space for donations, because I'm basically done explaining the most problematic parts of the run. The sewer is really straightforward. It's just progressing through it, getting the key to exit the sewers like we just got, and we're going to go to the resort area. And the resort area of the game is like really straightforward, and it is where we have the Kaufman side quest. So, for example, if you want to put the Good Plus incentive, this is where I would stop the bid war, like in the sewers, because right here, forgot to split. Right here is where you can actually save Kaufman to trigger the good ending. So we're gonna go for the bad plus ending right here. But here we can actually do a small side quest. It takes a minute. Oh, sorry. It takes a minute of the run, but it's to save a character named Kaufman. And at the end of the game, he essentially throws a bottle of Galaphatis and the final boss, and that changes the final boss of the run to Incubus instead of the Incubator, and that triggers the good ending. In the good ending, you defeat Incubus, in the bad ending, you defeat Incubator. We're going for the bad ending here because it's faster, and the plus is to save Sybil. We're going to save Sybil. We're going to use a glitch to save Sybil. So, yeah, Sybil is basically possessed by a creature, and if you pour some Galaphatis, like the red liquid that we picked up in the hospital is called the Galaphatis. So if you pour some Galaphatis into Sybil, you're essentially exercising the creature that's possessing her. So you save her, or well, if you don't pick up the red liquid, you're forced to kill her in self-defense, and that gives you the plus in your ending. And that saving her is faster in a way, but the fact that we use the red liquid we're going to talk about the glitch. But the fact that we glitch the game, we can skip like 20 to 30 seconds off the run with that glitch, and it's really good. It saves a lot of time. So that's why we always prefer to save Sybil. Sybil. To save Sybil instead of killing her. Killing her would involve picking up more ammo as well, like really slow. Now we're going to the lighthouse because essentially Dahlia tells us to do so. Dahlia is kind of guiding Harry, but at the end of at the end, after the Sybil fight, at the end of the amusement park, Harry discovers that she's been deceiving him all the time, and she's been using him to get to Alyssa. Again, the lore of this game is really complicated, but this part of the game is absolutely horrifying. The frame rate in this game, look at that, it's like single digits. It is really terrible. We can eat your inputs pretty badly. I'm saving a lot of time here, right? Like, this is probably a fake gold split. Maybe I split later. Well, yeah. Maybe it's a fake gold split. I don't know. I'll just leave it like that. And this is the lighthouse. As you can see, the camera is amazing. And you have to walk a little bit there to reposition, readjust Harry's angle. And you arrive at the top of the lighthouse, you find out that you were too late, so we're going to look after Sybil. And yeah, like I said, Sybil's possessed now. She's not doing too well, so we're going after her. And we're going to use the red liquid that we are supposed to use in Sybil on a creature called the larval stalkers, a baby ghost. Those creatures you can also find in the school, and that's going to somehow trigger the end of the fights, and that's going to glitch the entire cutscene. In marathons, people always show the cutscene. Of course, I'm going to show it here and in the marathon as well, because it's a it's a really funny cutscene. It's really funny. You're gonna see it. But yeah, like I explained, the glitch, it's the second major glitch in the game, and it allows us to skip the entirety of the amusement park, the entirety of the Sybil fights. It's like 20 to 30 seconds. Oh, okay. I bunked at the gate there. But yeah, like I said, every horror game has to have a sewer, and this game is so much of a horror game that it has 2 sewers instead of 1. So once again, another sewer, like the Otherworld sewer this would be. You always got the Otherworld counterpart, like the Otherworld school, the Otherworld hospital, and this is the Otherworld sewer. But this sewer is so easy, so straightforward. It's so linear. I'm just gonna go through it like really quickly. And we're going to get to the simple fight really quickly. Right at the end of this, so pay attention to what's gonna happen now. And this is such a funny glitch. I love it. It definitely never gets old. So the larval stalker is right there. Here. So open the menu. And there you go. Oh, I'm just gonna skip this. So this is the cutscene. And yeah, as you can see, it's completely glitched. I think the sound design also helps for the comedic effect somehow.
Sybil,
It's great.
wake up. Snap out of it. Sybil.
Harry, what happened?
Shh. Don't talk. I'll take care of you.
I don't know about that, but well, there you go. And you can show that cutscene without actually losing IGT, because the IGT doesn't tick on cutscenes. So the IGT is completely it's completely stopped there in that cutscene. So I can just show it and lose a little bit of RTA, but it's no big deal. So we're right at the end of the run. The final area of the run is called Nowhere, and it is called like that in the game as well. This area is my favorite part of the game. Well, one of my favorite parts of the games, probably. And it's actually the hardest part of the run for me. Because it has a lot of difficult things. But this is a combination of multiple areas of the game without any logic or reason for them to be together. So after going downstairs in the hospital hallway, you are in the classroom, and there's like a jewelry room from the there you go. There's a jewelry room for the shopping mall. There's the antique shop. So a lot of rooms put together in these hallways. A lot of rooms that were in the hospital as well, that had like apparently no meaning, or apparently no reason for them to be there. They essentially back in Nowhere, and now they're back in form of puzzles and key items, and you've got a lot of doors to unlock here. And the first puzzle in Nowhere is the Zodiac puzzle. It has almost nothing to do with Zodiac though. All you have to do is input here the number of arms and legs that each picture has. This puzzle is actually much easier than it looks. And you pick up this ton of time. That's the reward. The next puzzle is the alert puzzle, and as the name suggests, all you have to do is type alert here. There's like a green... Oh, I messed up. Yeah, this is why Nowhere is so bad for me, because it's so easy to mess up these puzzles. And if you mess up just a little bit, and you're right at the end of the game, this is a key item, very important. Right at the end of the game, like 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds ahead, and then you just lose 2 seconds to a puzzle, and it's just horrible. Nowhere is known as Joke City because usually when you get there, you're in a good run and you're nervous, and yeah, the nerves really can end your day. But that's the Lisa death cutscene. She's already dead, and she realizes that she's dead already, so she dies again. It's pretty sad. Here we put this ton of time in this clock, which is going to give us a very valuable reward. Thanks, clock. A key. And then we can unlock the next door. There you go. This puzzle is actually the hardest puzzle in the game, in my opinion, to do it properly. There you go. I messed up already. There you go. And yeah, it's just it involves picking up the camera, and you have to use the flash of the camera in the pictures of the wall, and that gives you the combination for the puzzles. Simple as that. This next nurse here is on our way. We're actually just going to push her. It's easier to kill her nightfall. In New Game Easy, we actually kill her, but here we're going to take a more pacifist route, I guess. Oh no, I hate this room sometimes. I messed up the movement there. It's no big deal. Nobody saw it. Move on. And in Nowhere, the general objective is to pick up 5 religious artifacts, or 5 artifacts in the game that represent religions. They are the key items. I picked up the Amulet of Solomon. That was the Crest of Mercury. I also picked up the Ring of Construct, a very important item, as I'm going to talk about. So this is the key to the last hallway of the game. And now we're introduced to the Stalkers. They are translucent enemies. So the baby ghost there has a translucent texture. This is essentially the enemy, the enemy in the school with a translucent texture. But here in this room, we've got to put the Ring of Construct after picking up that key item, or else we die. Monster comes out of the fridge. This is the second insta kill of the game. And yeah, that's not good to forget the Ring of Construct there. You can actually die there. Now we're gonna open up a pack of jelly beans to pick up another key. This game has a lot of keys, a lot of unique keys. And the item that we picked up there is the Dagger of Melchior, another one of the 5 items to unlock the final door to the final boss. And this one is another one of them, it's the Ankh, so there's only one left. And it's behind a door, but to open the door we need a key that's electrified by wires, and we're going to turn off the generator because of that. Now we can have access to that key, but before that key we have a dodge. We have to dodge translucent enemies, essentially enemies that you cannot see, and I have a setup for that. Let's see if I get it. This dodge is really important for PB pace. So yeah, there you go. It's a very specific strat. Involves turning off the flashlights and doing a turn in a specific timing. You can use the door as a visual cue, but this is the last key of the game, the key of Aratron. And yeah, that nowhere dodges. That's the best strategy that I actually came up with. So we're almost at the end of the game, and now I'm going to explain why I emptied my gun right at the beginning of the game. Wow, it's been a while. So, this is the final item, Disc of Ouroboros. We're gonna put all the 5 religious artifacts in the final door. So, the developers of this game, well, let's just explain a little bit better. I have emptied my gun at the beginning of the game, and I only have a knife. I have no bullets. I have no other guns. And the bosses, both of the final bosses in this game, are not reachable with melee weapons. One of them is a flying boss. You cannot reach him. And this one has a barrier around him, around her. And you cannot reach this boss either. So there's no way to kill with melee weapons. But it's going to die anyway. I am not killing it. This is a pacifist final boss. Believe it or not, this boss I'm not going to even touch. I'm just going to dodge the lightning. And the boss is going to die after the second row of lightning. Oh, there's the barrier, by the way. Take a look. So there you go. Cannot stab her. And yeah, obviously time is coming up after this. So boss gonna die in 3, 2, 1, dead. And that's Silent Hill 9 only. Pretty good RTA. especially considering that I showed the Sybil fight, the Sybil cutscene.
Cheryl!
So, why does the boss die if you don't have bullets? And this is the bad ending, by the way. If you don't have bullets, so the developers put a fail-safe at the end of the game, in case people would run out of bullets before the final bosses, because the final bosses cannot be killed through melee weapons.
This can't be happening.
If you run out of ammo,
Cheryl!
poor Harry, if you run out of ammo, the boss will die on its own after some time. It depends on which difficulty you are. We are on easy, so it dies pretty quickly. You only have to survive. And yeah, this was actually intended by the developers to prevent people from soft locking. And yeah, this is it. This is how you do it. A lot of people don't actually know about that, but this is pretty well known. If you search the Silent Hill walkthroughs or wikis or whatever. So yeah, that's how you beat Silent Hill with the knife. It's it's a pretty interesting run. I'm also going to, this is my first submission to a SGDQ. I will love to have this run feature on it. This run's really interesting. The game is amazing. The speedrun's really fun. I love to do commentary on this. Yeah, it would be my first time on a SGDQ. I always wanted to be part of an event. So yeah, I'm also going to submit another very obscure category called 10 star. But that's a talk for another day. 10 star, dude. 10 stars. 10 star stuff. 10 star is definitely harder than this. But we're going to talk about 10 star in the 10 star submission video. I'm also going to submit the UFO, 80%. I'm going to submit everything that I can with this game. I don't know how many submissions per game I have actually. I think it's 4, but I'm not sure. But this is my main submission. This is what I want to showcase, because this will be first time in a GDQ, first time ever in a GDQ. And this is a twist to the original Silent Hill run. As you can see, the run has a few shaky moments at the first half, but generally it's a pretty chill run. Silent Hill was a pretty chill game. Silent chill. So yeah, all that's left is to actually check my IGT, which should be around 36 minutes. I always like to guess my IGT. So I'm gonna guess 36:05. 36 minutes 5 seconds. Sounds good. Before that though, I'm gonna get a reward from Sybil from beating Silent Hill.
Harry,
Thank you, Sybil.
go.
Thanks for the slap on the face. Alright. Yeah, that's the bad plus ending. Alright, let's see here what the IGT is. 36:11, I was actually pretty close. Not bad. And yeah, we only killed 4 enemies in the entire run, so this is the as close as pacifist as Silent Hill 1 can be. So there we go, a pretty good run here on my submission video. Pretty happy with this. So I would love for this to get accepted. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I will be looking forward to this SGDQ. Yeah, regardless if I get in or not, I'm definitely gonna watch it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your attention, and I will be seeing ya. Goodbye. Have a good one.